Hey there, YouTube. So, I've been thinking about 3 conversations I had this week with friends and acquaintances, and I narrow it down, and it really comes to the same thing. People trying to solve a problem that doesn't have an upside to solving. So, I think my coffee's ready. I'm gonna grab it. Let's talk about this. So, whether it's real estate, relationships, or small business issues, there's always a problem to solve. So when we break down solving the problem, we like the Pareto Principle always works. We need to make sure though that we don't spend 80% of our efforts on those bottom 20% of our rewards, somehow trying to save those things. We always want to make sure that we spend 80% of our efforts on the top 20% that's driving the most results, whether that's income, whatever. So in the context of like real estate and small business problems, we want to put the 80% of our effort into those 20% customers that are going to drive the revenue we need to continue our business. This is one of the problems I've seen, and I see some of my friends still making, is I've been tempted to think, wow, low income housing is such an underserved market. There's no institutional investors involved in this. Like, I can really dominate this market. And that's true, you can dominate the market. That doesn't bring in the cash flows you need. So how do you focus on those top 20% customers, put 80% of your effort into that and drive revenue there? So let's take a small business example. Let's say I'm a yogi and I want to open my own yoga studio. So I need to drive revenue for those top 20% customers that are going to keep my business going. Well, how do I do that? The first thing I got to do is analyze my target market. So what are high paid professionals or high net worth individuals, probably male in America, that are going to drive the revenue for that top 20% that's going to keep my business bottom line going. And then the other 80% customers are my profit. But if I can get 20% of my customers paying all my bottom line bills, I can dedicate 80% of my efforts to that. Then I can dedicate 20% of my efforts to scaling, driving profit, and the extra money that I want. But 20% could drive my entire bottom line. So how do I identify that target market? If I'm a sole proprietor, no employees, 3 to 5 high paying customers could probably drive the majority of my bottom line. How do I identify them? So what are the high income or high net worth individuals in my target market, and what are their problems that need solved? So if they're young professionals, they're probably overtraining and they're probably not taking their rest and recovery seriously. So rest and recovery problems will probably be something that they're like pretty highly focused on. If they're middle-aged professionals, they're probably training. They're also probably in a very stressful part of their career. And so while rest and recovery are probably important to them still, now they're probably very engaged in like the mental health, mind, body aspects of yoga, or also just de-stressing from their day. At the beginning of the next day, they're probably working on becoming focused for the upcoming day and the stressors that it's going to bring. So mind body is probably very important. And then as you get into your older crowd, the older target market, they're probably no longer high income professionals, but they're probably high net worth individuals at this point, probably have a lot of free time. And now they're probably worried primarily about mobility and mobility problems and their general overall health. So these are probably different problem sets that are getting solved by each of those like groups, subgroups of one group, which is your high net worth and high income individuals. Once I've identified this overall market of high net worth, high income individuals, I would probably hyper target on the top 10 or 15. When you read Tim Grover's books, Winning or Relentless, I think he talks about it more in Relentless. He hyper targeted the Chicago Bulls and then landed on Michael Jordan by accident. Sorry. No. But if you could target the Michael Jordans and develop marketing plans specific for each of them, and you had 10 targeted individuals, and you walked away with 2 or 3 high paying clients that you're solving very important problems for someone who's able to compensate you for solving those problems, now you have 80% of your efforts focused on 20% of revenues that are really going to drive your bottom line and change your business. Now, we all know that nobody makes important purchases solely based on feature, function, benefit. So, what about you as the business owner? Are you as the business owner somebody that is they're going to trust with whatever these important goals are to them? If it's a young person that's overtraining, their fitness goals, they're very important to them. They're spending a lot of money on coaching, on nutrition, a lot of time in the gym. And so their rest time needs to be super productive and it needs to be tied in to the rest of their training. So do they feel like you truly understand what their goals are? Because like seek first to understand, then to be understood. If they feel truly understood and they truly believe that you're going to get them to that important goal, they're going to be willing to pay whatever price it costs to get there. And they have the resources available to do it. Making their time is probably going to be more difficult for them. So who are they going to trust? Like, what does that person look like? What does that person talk like? How does that person present themselves? How are those goals presented to each of those people a little bit differently, right? Like, none of them are probably going to be super interested in something that's too esoteric. Maybe the older group that's now starting to think about spirituality and end of life stuff, maybe they are like real interested in esoterics, but like the younger crowd and the middle aged crowd is probably still very focused on like the physical goals they're trying to reach or the mental emotional goals that they're trying to reach. So how do you frame the offering in a way that they feel like they're being understood and it's filling their specific need in their specific life? So those are some of my overall thoughts. Like, if I'm trying to solve a problem, one, I need to make sure the problem I'm solving is the one that gets me to my goals. And then two, as I solve that problem, I want to take into consideration the Pareto Principle and make sure that I'm not getting trapped with letting 80% of my efforts drive the bottom 20% of results. I want to make that 80% of efforts drive the top 20% of results, right? We see this in the Marine Corps a lot, where 80% of your efforts are focused on those 5 Marines that are probably going to end up in the brig or adcept, and they're going to be gone, when as a good leader you really want to spend 80% of your efforts on those top 20% of your Marines that are going to go on to do great things. So same thing in our business. We want to make sure that those revenues are being driven by, we're putting our efforts into those top 20% revenue drivers that are going to move the needle on our business forward.